fault.
Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankin. This is going to be a fun day. We're talking about top 12 movies based on comic books, but leaving the Marvel and DC superhero ones off the table because I want to give some chance for the other brands to get some spotlight. But I'm not going to do this alone. We've got a bunch of people here. We've got Matt Kearns. Matt, how's it going?
Hello, I am here to talk about this list. That was like probably the easiest Rankin list I've ever had to talk about. It wasn't like I messaged you and had like several of my picks not counting for this list. This should be fun. I think this is a good topic because obviously when you talk about comic book movies, most people immediately go to the two big ones, which after again doing research for this list, I have to give credit. They mostly make movies based off of the two big ones, but this should be a good time.
We've also got Stacey here. Stacey, how's it going?
It is very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. And last but not least, here's the one that picked the top, as he did win the bracket prediction thing last year. It was just a little bit later than what I planned because he's not long coming out of hospital, but it's Garth. Garth, how's it going?
All right. And I, as usual with these lists, I went overboard and page after page after page after page. But I did narrow it down to top 30, so should be good to go.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I also, for these lists, I always also tend to go overboard. Like, I'll go through the list, put everything in a letterbox list, and I've got a basis of what I want to sort of try and watch. But basically, how this works is we're going to go around and each nominate a movie that's based on a comic book that people think belong on the table, and then we go around and vote. If it gets a majority of yeses, it'll make the list. And because it is 4 people and a panel, it's like the person nominating, like, it's going to come. It's not going to have any impact on the things, but it's going to be the other 3 on the panel, which will, yes, but
so we don't have to worry about ties. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and also like I know I see comics, but comic strips, manga, they count. They are still comics, even though they're not technically lumped in there for some whatever reason. But going to go to Matt first. Matt, was the first movie you're going to bring up?
Well, look, Malcolm said comic strip, so obviously my first one is going to be Bill Murray's Garfield. No, I'm not doing that. Even though I could. No, I'm doing one of my favorites. If anyone's followed this channel for any amount of time, you'll know my love for this movie. It's The Man with the Yellow Hat. Talk about 1990s, Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy is a fantastic movie. It is one of my top 5 favorite comic book movies of all time. It is a great sort of classic movie. It has beautiful colors that reflect the era of comics that Warren Beatty was doing. The cast is incredible, with Al Pacino in the Oscar-nominated role of Big Boy Caprice. Al Pacino walked so Heath Ledger's Joker could run, and I remind people that all the time. The music is obviously wonderful, and not just the songs, once again, Oscar-winning from Madonna, but also Danny Elfman's themes are wonderful. It's just it's a fun sort of classic movie with a great main character who is stoic, just because sometimes it's nice to just have stoic heroes who don't have to have like these horrible backstories. They could just be doing good because it's good to do good. So yeah, Dick Tracy is my first nomination.
Garth, what do you say about Dick Tracy?
Well, I will admit this didn't crack my top 30, but I do love it, especially getting huge name stars, Oscar caliber stars, and then putting them under goofy makeup. That is a huge risk. You know, that was like really going out there. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have Al Pacino in our movie, but we're gonna make him unrecognizable. You know, and so, uh, there were some stuff I would change about it, but overall, I think it was a good adaptation of the characters and stuff. So I'll give it a thumbs up. I'll say yes.
Stacey, what do you say about Dick Tracy?
It was not on my list, but I do think it's a lot of fun. I think the cinematography is great. The music is great. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. I loved Madonna as Breathless Mahoney when I was a kid. So, is it one of the top 12 though? That's where I'm struggling. I think I might just say no and make Malcolm decide. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
Great.
say no.
Knowing Malcolm, he hasn't seen it, despite the fact I talk about this movie nonstop.
Oh, he hasn't seen it? Oh, okay,
No,
cool.
I don't know. I'm just saying that's
Oh.
just my luck on this show.
Well, if that's the case, I'm sorry. I didn't want it a default. He hasn't seen it.
So here's the thing: when this topic came up, my first thought was like, "Right, I've got a chance to see Dick Tracy." I haven't got around to it.
I'm leaving. 5 years of friendship, Malcolm. 5 years. This
Hey,
was the first
hey,
episode
hey.
of Second Look, and you never got it. I watched Lord of the Rings for you, but it's fine.
I mean, you really made out on that deal, though.
Malcolm would make out on Dick.
But anyway, because it's a movie that I do actually want to see, I've heard a lot about. I was actually going to say no just to spite you now, but
Whatever. It's par for the course on this show.
But you know what? I haven't seen it, but it's one I want to see. So I'm going to give Matt the benefit of the doubt and say yes to it.
Wow, you're
Malcolm
allowed to
gave
do
me a
that.
piggy
All
yes.
right, your
I feel
show.
so good. Whatever.
I mean, I've never said that you can't say
Wow.
yes if you haven't seen it.
I mean, this is Malcolm's show, so he
Yeah.
does make the rules.
That happened on another. I've only been on a handful of episodes, but I was in another one where somebody said yes to something they hadn't seen. So maybe
Yeah.
it's me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I've never made it a rule that if you haven't seen it.
Then again, in Malcolm's defense, once again, I talk about this movie so much, I quote it. He's practically seen it without seeing it.
But anyway, Garth, going to you, what is the first one you're going to bring up?
All right. My first pick is a little something from a comic strip and Flash. Flash Gordon from 1980. This was a movie George Lucas wanted to make, but Dino De Laurentiis and others threw a wrench in the works with rights, and so he went on to make Star Wars instead. But this is a gorgeous movie. Just watch it for the visuals alone. It's campy fun, and if you like Thor Ragnarok, it owes everything to this movie. It's so heavily influenced by it, and all the characters are over the top. Max von Sydow is Mingo Merciless, is this cool, calm villain, and you've got Brian Blessed as Prince Voltan. He's my favorite. I've dressed up as him many times.
Boss Nass.
You've got Timothy Dalton doing some nice swashbuckling as Prince Baron, basically Robin Hood, and
Han Solo. It's like Robin Hood meets Han Solo.
yeah, and it's just a wonderful movie with great characters and stuff, and I just can't recommend it enough. It's one of my all-time favorites, and the best thing about it for me is the Queen soundtrack. It's some of my most played music. I play it over and over and over again, and every part of it is great. So,
Stacey, what do you say about Flash Gordon?
So I haven't seen this movie in so very long that I essentially have not seen this movie. Like I saw it in the early 80s. I don't remember it at all. If I had known it was based on a comic strip, I would have rewatched it for this. But I can't really vote for it because I don't remember it at all. And I'm not someone who I never vote for stuff I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And-
Sorry, I don't always vote no, I swear.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I also don't always do it. Like Dick Tracy's just that one of those ones that I've heard a lot about. Is like sounds really interesting. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the same for Flash Gordon. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I started watching this, then realized I misspelled the title and got a very different movie.
What are you trying to
Yes,
tell us,
Flash-
Malcolm?
Flash
What
Gordon,
website
you
were you
actually
watching
watched
this on?
Yeah, I watched the other one. Swap
Oh.
out the A for an E, and you might figure out the kind of movie.
Yeah,
I made.
yeah. That's. I don't know how you could get through 15 minutes of that and think it's the legit movie though.
Oh, I got through about 5, then realized I was like, yeah, this is not the movie that. And unfortunately, I just didn't have time to try and find the actual ones. I've got it. I mean, it does sound good, but it's just one of those ones that's never really been high on my list of ones that I want to see anyway. So yeah, it's going to have to still be a no for me. Matt, what would you have said about Flash Gordon?
Yeah, I feel pretty pleased to say that I saw this movie before Ted, even though, let's be honest, Seth MacFarlane did give this movie a second life. I think my favorite thing is I walked into Walmart one day and there was a 2-pack where it was Ted and the Flash Gordon movie being sold together. But yeah, I really like this movie. It is a very cheesy wannabe Star Wars movie from the 80s, but it's fun. Like Garf said, it's got some fun production value to it.
Star Wars is
Paul
based on
Denuzo
it, not
would
the
kill
other
us
way.
if we didn't talk about Queen, which I'm on record on this channel saying the Flash Gordon theme is one of my favorite Queen songs. Yeah, and Timothy Dalton, this movie should have been about him because let's be honest, Timothy Dalton acts circles around Sam J. Jones. And like I said, he's Robin Hood mixed with Han Solo, which who doesn't want to see a movie about that? And also, it's Timothy Dalton being a badass. So watch it. I say watch it for Timothy Dalton. I would have given it a yes.
And please don't call it a Star Wars wannabe. It's what influenced Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm Flash Gordon isn't, but Deal
The old
Lines has
Flash
made
Gordon
it like
serials
everybody
that
made.
Yeah.
Like
wanna
Moonraker
make
came out,
and
it was all
couldn't,
like,
so
yeah,
he
it was, you know.
settled for Star Wars. So.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But
Flash Gordon existed long before Star Wars, kids.
and yeah, unfortunately, Flash Gordon doesn't make this list. Stacy would go back. Stacy would go back to you.
Well, my first choice is one of my favorite characters, period. Not necessarily from the movie itself, but in general. And is technically DC, but I was told it counted because it's an imprint, and that would be Constantine, which I love. Like, I know it's gained popularity now, but when it came out, it was not loved by people. I was like, I don't know what you're watching because Tilda Swinton alone is worth your time in this movie. I just think it's great. I think a lot of the effects actually hold up fairly well as you can expect. And it's just a lot of fun. Well, maybe not fun. Fun might not be the right word. There's some fun there, but I just think it's well done. I mean, I do prefer Matt Ryan as Constantine, but Keanu Reeves is good. He was the first one I knew. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So I know when this topic came up, Constantine was one that I wasn't too sure of. It's one that Garth said it counted, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to go against Garth.
And Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
are part of the Vertigo, like Sandman, and
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those ones like these days, like Constantine is so ingrained in DC stuff. It's easy to not know the hit. I've seen this movie once a while ago. I'm probably going to revisit it at some stage because I believe it's getting a sequel if it hasn't been cancelled already. Unfortunately, I'm going to give it a slight no, just because I have seen it. I just don't remember much about it. Matt, what do you say about Constantine?
I know of Constantine, the movie, but not because I've seen it, because I've seen the Nostalgia Critic review of Constantine, but that doesn't really count. So unfortunately, I have to say no. Or, whoa, no. Bummer.
But hey, Garth, what would you have said about Constantine?
I probably would have said no as well, just because it doesn't hit for me. I don't like a lot of the changes they made to the character and the storyline and stuff.
Oh, I didn't read the comics, so
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, as a longtime comics fan who knew him from back in the like 70s and 80s, and he was Alan Moore based him on David Bowie and stuff. He's this British, change, so
Yeah.
like to put Keanu Reeves in that role, I was like, what are you doing? Like you said, Matt Ryan is the
Oh my
better
God.
example.
I wish Matt Ryan could play him in the sequel, but people would be horrified.
Yeah.
They don't know.
So I'll have to say no. And I don't think it matters, but
I mean, maybe the sequel can deal with some multiverse stuff, and if they manage to get.
and they did do that in the CW crossovers where they brought in Lucifer, even though he wasn't a CW show.
I mean, also
Yeah.
they recast roles all the time. Jake Gyllenhaal was on with Spider-Man 2, so it can happen.
Yeah,
Believe hard enough.
Even in the animated ones now, they draw him and he's voiced by Matt Ryan and they draw him to look just like Matt Ryan.
yeah.
But it is what it is. I'll take any Constantine I can get, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those ones. I'm pretty sure the Matt Ryan one is the one that's really close to the way the comics sort of look and that he is. But anyway,
while we're on the subject, I'd like to plug my friend Ming Doyle wrote some Constantine comics. Pick up the trade.
But if that, we're going to it's on me. And I'm going to go for a one that has always been a childhood favorite for mine, and some people may say that this character becomes a friendly ghost later on, but I'm bringing up the classic '90s kids movie Richie Rich.
That's not what I was expecting.
That's not where I thought you were going at all.
So
I mean, that might still come up later. But
becomes a friendly ghost. So
yeah, no, it's like been a long running theory that Casper the Friendly Ghost is actually Richie
I
Rich.
have heard this theory.
Because he died like that. Yeah. Because I think they even referenced that on The Simpsons at one stage.
Pretty rich.
But yeah, look, I this is a movie that I watched a lot growing up. Like Macaulay Culkin was really good as Richie, and even the guy who plays Cadbury, who then goes on to play Robin Williams' father in Jumanji, as well as Van Pelt in that same movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those movies that I never thought I'd still be talking about to this day. It's just I thought it was like one of those kids' movies that I was going to watch, and then it just fades off, and I never think about it again. But this is just one that I've watched a lot, even a lot more sort of growing up. Like every time I see it on stream, it's just like, I'm going to watch it before it comes off here. And yeah, it's just, because I think it's also got John Larroquette from Night Court in it as well. But
he plays the bad guy.
Yeah, but I mean, who doesn't want a mansion that's got their very own McDonald's? But Matt, what do you say about Richie Rich?
Richie Rich was a movie I saw a lot growing up. It played on ABC Family a lot around Thanksgiving. I don't know why. So I did watch it a lot. There are some pretty funny jokes in there. I think the funniest is at the end of the movie when Larroquette breaks into the vault and it's just like a bunch of mementos of Richie growing up, and he's just like, where's the money? And his parents are just like, it's in stocks, it's in the bank. And I'm just like, yeah, it's really funny because that is like the sort of classic Scrooge McDuck. You keep all your money in a vault. It's like, no, real rich people don't do that. This was when Macaulay Culkin was like growing up, and this was like the last gasp of him being sort of a leading star. And he's fine. He's okay. You would think a kid who actually was like a real life Richie Rich would, like he really connected with this role. I feel like, unfortunately, I'm gonna say no, just because I have not watched in so many years that I can't really make a good judgment if it is a top 12 non-DC or Marvel comic book movie.
No, that's fair. Garth, what do you say about Richie Rich?
Well, Malcolm, I got some bad news. Not only did this not make my top 30, this didn't make my top 200.
Oh, damn.
It's nowhere on my
That's
list.
cold, Garth.
So, yeah, no. Sorry.
And Stacey, what would you have said about Richie Rich?
I mean, I think I saw it once when it came out. I'm old. I don't remember it. So it would have been a no.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah, and I just actually looked it up, but Richie Rich was Macaulay Culkin's last movie until he returned in 2003. For
You know why?
Party
Because he had
Monster.
puberty in there. Like, you're not the cute kid from Home Alone anymore. We don't want you, poor guy. But he's okay.
but-
He's doing fine. Bunny Ears is great.
But with that, we go back to Matt. Matt, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
The next movie I'm going to bring up. It is quite literally one of my favorite comic book movies, and it also, I think, is one of the best adaptations of a comic book to a movie. And I'm talking about Turtle Power. Turtle Power. 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a great movie. Technical wise, the Jim Henson Company created some amazing animatronics that feel real. Story wise, like I said, if you read those original Eastman and Laird comics, it is a very close adaptation. Obviously, they change, some things around, and they add some things, but it's pretty much the same base story. It's got some great action scenes in it. It has a killer soundtrack. And yeah, that Powers and Crime song will get stuck in your head, but for a good reason, because it's awesome. And also, Casey Jones. This movie, I quote this movie all the time, and mostly Casey Jones. I think my favorite exchange in the movie is between him and Donatello. You're a claustrophobic. Hey, I never even looked at another guy. Because that joke did not even register in my head as a child, and I go older. It's like, I get it. So yeah, 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Garth, what do you say about the 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Well, I would disagree with Matt that it sticks close to the comics because the comics were much darker. The comics were based on Daredevil and X-Men and kind of mixed them together. Like instead of the Foot Clan, or instead of
the hand, it's the foot. Instead of stick, it's Splinter. Yeah.
And in fact, their origin is Daredevil's the same radioactive barrel that hit Daredevil in the head is the sludge that made them. Stuff like that. But yeah, so my first experience with this was in 1984, visiting friends at UMass Amherst, and I met Eastman and Laird, and they were selling little black and white copies of their comic, and it looked like it came off the Xerox machine. It was so bad quality, and it was awesome. And in fact, currently at UMass Amherst in the library, there are big statues of all the turtles and Splinter, because that's where they were created. So it's pretty cool. So I've been into them since then, since '84, and a huge fan. And this was a fun adaptation. And like Matt said, the effects with the suits and stuff were pretty good for their time. I mean, you got that Henson stuff in there. And so, yeah, I'm gonna say yes to this.
Stacey, what do you say about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 90s?
I haven't seen it. I really wish I had said yes to Dick Tracy at this point, because I've never said no this much on a show. Never mind all in a row. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I wasn't into them as a kid. Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah,
You gotta just watch it now. It's okay. We're helping
I
you,
mean, I
Stacey.
could, but there's a lot of other things I'd want to watch first, probably.
It's okay. We can keep saying no. Like I said, we got 200 to go.
Oh,
Yeah, Garth was 200.
I mean, I've got about 80 that I've seen. So,
I got 12, and I've been through 2. So
hey, you got Dick Tracy on there.
yeah, I did.
But yeah, I mean, I'd argue, like, when it comes to adaptation wise, I'd argue the recent Turtle movies are probably the closer adapted.
What?
What are you?
So you've never read the comics then?
I mean, from what I've heard, I've
No,
heard people say
you've never read the comics then.
Closer to
If you're saying the Michael Bay produced ones are close,
The second one is a close adaptation of the cartoon show, but not the comics, not the Eastman.
not the comics at all.
No.
No.
There's no Bebop and Rocksteady in the comics.
And as I said, that's what I've heard
Or
other
Laura
people
Lynn.
say. I haven't read the
Then
comics
those
myself.
people are messed up and read the wrong different comics than Eastman and Laird.
But anyway, the '90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is actually not the best Turtles movie they've done. It's enjoyable, but yeah, I've got to say no. I'm not a fan.
Well, now you have me curious.
Well, the crime rate is high with Muggins Mysterious. All
If
police
it's not-
detectives
if
are
it's-
furious.
I will say
they can't find the
I will
source.
say it's
Lethally
definitely
evil.
not the Michael Bay produced ones, if that helps.
Yeah, thank God.
Because I'll say the '90s Turtles one's the best out of that trilogy. But yeah,
Now you have me confused. What are you going for?
Yeah.
maybe it'll be the next one I bring up. We'll have
Is
to
it
wait
some-
and see.
Oh,
But-
no.
if it's
I love Chris Evans, but if you're going to bring that one up, forget it.
Maybe I won't.
oh, yeah, that one.
But
I haven't thought about the movie in so long.
But anyway, with that being said, unfortunately, Turtles is not going to get it on this
Oh.
list.
That was one of the ones I thought was a slam dunk.
I
But
thought that would have given me.
yeah.
I mean, maybe if JPR
Garf,
was
you want
here,
to go
it'd
do
be
your own
different.
show?
But anyway, Gav, we're going to go back to
I'm
you.
regretting being on this show now. I'm like, what is our top 12 going to be?
Malcolm's gonna get off this, and he's gonna have one less friend on Facebook and one less Twitter follower.
I'm very curious what our top 12 is going to wind up being now.
Yeah, I thought
'Cause
Constantine
we just
was a
keep saying
twin, I
no,
was
no,
gonna say.
no, you know? Wow. All right.
Nothing's guaranteed on Rickham.
Okay. All right. So my turn again. All right. We'll see. I'll take a shot. I know if PJ Cameron were here, he'd say yes to this. He's got the tattoo and everything. I'm going with The Rocketeer from 1991, directed by Joe Johnson, who went on to direct great comic movies based on the comics by Dave Stevens. I've got all the deluxe versions and the big hardcovers and all that. And it's a wonderfully told story. Cliff Secord finds a rocket pack and uses it in aerial shows and stuff like that, not knowing who invented it or what it's up, and he gets in trouble with the government and spies from other countries and Nazis. And once again, we got Timothy Dalton as a swashbuckling dude playing basically a Nazi hero Flynn. Jennifer Connelly is basically Betty Page. That's who she's based on in the comics. And it's just a great movie. Lots of great scenes. And so that's my number 2.
Stacey, have you seen The Rocketeer?
I have.
I love how Malcolm's not
Yes,
even
because I've
asking what
seen
your
it.
vote is. He's like, "Have you seen it?"
It's not, well, I mean, I can see stuff and still not vote for it. I mean, that's happened, but I mean, it helps if I've seen it. It's not on my list because I have seen it and I know it's beloved, but I'm going to say yes because we have to put things on this list. And I know it's a beloved movie and it isn't a bad movie. Like, I do enjoy it. It's just not on my list. So, yay. Go Rocketeer.
But I have seen The Rocketeer as well, and just because I'm pretty sure I know where Matt's going to go with this, I do enjoy The Rocketeer. My rule of thumb for me is if it's in my top 30, I'm going to say yes to it. If it's not, I'm not. Unfortunately, this just missed out on my top 30, so I'm going to say no to it. Matt, what do you say about the Rocketeer?
Malcolm, you just presume things about me. You think because I love characters like Superman and Captain America and Indiana Jones, who are heroes from the 30s, that I would love a movie about a hero from the 30s. You're right, but don't presume these things about me. Yeah, because I love The Rocketeer. The Rocketeer it's awesome. It is. It's one of my sick day movies. Like when I'm under the weather and I'm just laying in bed, I put on The Rocketeer because it has a beautiful soundtrack to it. It's just a great. They literally don't make comic book movies like this anymore. Just fun standalone adventures. This isn't setting up for like 97 different sequels and spinoffs. It's just a great told tale. And this is literally the movie that I think got Joe Johnson the job for Captain America: The First Avenger. Yeah, Garth mentioned her. Jennifer Connelly just stole my heart as a small child, and Top Gun Maverick, she's still stealing it. So yeah, this is a great movie, and I love that Stacey gave it a pity vote because she doesn't want to spend her entire evening on Ranko.
Yeah, but I mean, aren't they supposed to be doing a sequel to it, or?
It's not necessary, so
I
hopefully
hope not.
not.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I remember a few years ago where it was announced that Disney was looking at rebooting The Rocketeer.
A reboot, but not a sequel.
Yeah, rebooting.
Well, I mean, there's one of those. I think there's one of those interesting things with me. I think there's both a remake and a reboot and a sequel, sort of both been talked about. So I don't know.
I've heard the reboot, but not the remake or sequel.
What if it's a reboot?
I just had to quickly look it up, but yeah. But with that, The Rocketeer does make this list, and we go back to Stacey.
My next pick, which I think is probably a better movie than my first pick was, but I just love the first one. And I just think this is just a fantastic movie all around, period. It doesn't have to be for comic books. And that is Snowpiercer. And I'm going to assume you guys have seen Snowpiercer, you're film guys. But if you haven't, you really should. It's so great. The politics of it are just, I think, unfortunately, will always be relevant. And it's just a very unique idea and a very unique way of staging the movie, going through the train. And again, Tilda Swinton, I think I just like it when she's androgynous. Maybe that's what I need to get on my list, as an androgynous Tilda Swinton in a movie, because she's fantastic, and Chris Evans is of course fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah, so I've seen Snowpiercer, the TV series, but I have also seen the movie.
You had me going there. You had me going there.
You had me going in the first half, not gonna lie.
But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I didn't have this on my list. So I don't know whether I didn't think it was a comic book or what. But yeah, but that aside, it's just one of those ones that I do enjoy it. And speaking of Chris Evans, I think he's good in the movie. I'm just talking a lot because I'm just trying, because I realised I didn't actually have this on my list, so where this is placing on it. But it is going to be a slight yes. I do enjoy it enough to have it in my top 30. So yeah, as easily as like yes. Matt, what do you say about Snowpiercer?
Not much, because I haven't seen it, but I know the poster, and it's a cool looking poster. But can't vote off of the poster, maybe, except for Expendables 3. That would win.
But Garth, what do you say about Snowpiercer?
Yeah, this is in my top 30. And you know me, I'm a huge Chris Evans fan, and
No.
Yeah.
That's Standy in the background.
Got to meet him too. But anyways, this is a good adaptation. The comics are it's a French comic series called I wrote it down because it's Oh no, I didn't. Oh, it's Transpersonage. Led Transpersonage, whatever. Anyways, but Bong Joon-ho, this is actually his first movie with mostly English language in it, and he did a great job. And Ed Harris and everyone in it is really good. So yeah, this is a yes for me.
We got Queen, we got Ed Harris. A random Paul Denuzzo will somehow appear now. That's how it works.
But yeah, Snowpiercer does make this list, and it goes to me. And for my first one, I'm going to go for one that's a super popular one. I'm going to go for Kingsman: The Secret Service, and this is one that that it's probably up there for my favorite spy films. It's definitely in my top 100 movies of all time. It's just one that I really love, and also love the kind of the twist where they put Mark Hamill in it, but not as himself. He's playing this random. Because I believe it is in the comics. He's playing himself, and that gets kidnapped. But I just like the way they just put him in there as someone else and not do that same route. But I think Taron Egerton is great, and I really can't wait till they eventually do a third one with Taron Egerton back in the role. But Matt, what do you say about Kingsman: The Secret Service?
Is the gentleman connected to Kingsman at all?
No, but it should.
No.
No? Well, I haven't seen anything Kingsman related then. So, fortunately.
No, there are 3 of these, but no.
Yeah. Sorry.
There's
Mark Hamill's in it, so I guess I should see it at some point. I'll get around to it. Is this Lispy Sam Jackson? Because if so, then I have heard of this.
Sam Jackson's in it.
Yeah, but doesn't he talk about this? Isn't that something I've heard? Okay, yeah. And I have seen clips of this movie.
But Garth, what do you say about Kingsman: The Secret Service?
Yeah, this was a fun trilogy. And I actually have a different one that I might bring up later, depending on what happens. So Matt, you said no just because you have.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I'm gonna put the pressure on Stacy on it, and I'm gonna say yes.
I will take that pressure.
Challenging.
I love the Kingsman movies. I think they're all a bunch of fun. I would say yes to any of them. And it was on my list. So, yes.
That Kingsman makes the list. And Matt, what is the next one you could bring out?
All right, the next one I'm going to bring up, it's one of my favorites since I was a small kid. Even though, because I loved this movie, my family had to endure me constantly quoting and impersonating this man. But it's Party Time, Party, because I gotta. Is it fate? Is it written in the stars? I'd like to think so. Photo of Calloway's wife. Oh, I'd figured you have a sense of humor. You married her. If you can't tell, it's The Mask, Jim Carrey. Yes, it is not as violent as the comics. I know, I've read the comics, but it's a super fun movie. It is my favorite from Jim Carrey's trilogy of 94 comedies he did. And it's great because I like both characters he plays. I like how he is this, neurotic kind of just everyman guy is Stanley Ipkiss. He can't get the girl. He sticks a pen in a pencil sharpener. Like, he's just down on his luck, and then he gets this power of the mask, and he becomes this larger than life, person. And it's a super fun movie. It has great music to it, nice dance sequence, and Tom Arnold and Cameron Diaz are in it. So, fun supporting cast. So yeah, The Mask.
Garth, what do you say about The Mask?
Heck of a debut for Cameron Diaz. Everyone was like, "Who is she? She's going to be a star." And yeah, it's a real fun movie. as Matt pointed out, the comics are much darker. Loki's mask is more chaotic and evil, like Loki himself. And the sequel, Son of the Mask, although it's very awful, I will admit that I do like seeing an Odin and Loki in it. Showing the power behind the mask. But yeah, The Mask is a real fun movie. Unfortunately, I'm gonna actually say no to it in the top 12.
Stacey, what do you say about The Mask?
I find The Mask to be horribly annoying. I'm sorry.
Well,
I
you're not
think
wrong.
I think it's because of when it came out, I was like a teenage girl, and it just, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, I could see people liking it, like I get it, but it just, and Jim Carrey in general at that stage in his career, I found kind of annoying. So I'm gonna have to say no, but I've seen it and I'm saying no at least. So that's improvement.
Yeah, I kind of want to see a crossover movie in which Loki from Dogma and Loki from the MCU take turns wielding Loki's mask.
No, you get Jamie Kennedy and Jim Carrey against the two Lokis. That's the movie right there.
Well, and Matt Damon played Loki in the MCU too. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that as well, but but it's still going to be a Loki off. But there's probably some other Lokis out there in some foreign movies as well that I haven't mentioned.
Oh, the character of Loki is in many movies. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, wasn't Alan Cumming Loki in Son of the Mask?
Yeah, he was
in
Son of the Mask.
Malcolm,
and Bob
this
Hoskins.
is all me to figure. You're gonna say no to The Mask, and you're just postponing it for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I really do love The Mask. Unfortunately, it's already got 2 no's anyway. But yeah. I would have said yes. But with that, we go back to Garth for his next nomination.
All right. I've already said I love Chris Evans, and he's in many movies that aren't Marvel or DC. So I'm picking another one of them. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Written and directed by Edgar Wright, based on the comics by Brian Lee Malley. And although it changes stuff from the comics, in fact, he hadn't finished the series when the movie was being made, and had to send them like, here's what the story's going to be, and things got changed around and they made a different Hollywood ending. But it's interesting to see the differences. But nice variety of cast with all the X's, all the people and the special effects with the he's got this, like in the comics, he's got these things where he sees like video game stuff or this, that, all sorts of, like extra life and bonus things, and traveling through dimensional doors and stuff like that. So it's a fun movie. It's, sci-fi fantasy as well as, rom-com. So I really love this one.
Stacey, what do you say about Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Yeah, I think Scott Pilgrim is a lot of fun. It is on my list. I think it introduced us to a lot of up-and-coming actors that ended up being, it's interesting to go back and see them in these roles, because a lot of them are not really the type that they're cast as now. People like Anna Kendrick and Brie Larson and Chris Evans. And just the way it's shot is a lot of fun. And it's a yes.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Even though we said no Marvel DC, Chris Evans could take up at least one more spot on this list. Maybe 2, but I already know that there's at least one more that's not going to make it. But yeah, I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I know this is one of those ones that in this community everyone is talking about it, but that's not a bad thing because it's also a really good movie. And it kind of like this is what the movie that made me actually care about Michael Cera. Like for the most part, like everything I've seen Michael Cera in, I've just not enjoyed him in. Then Scott Pilgrim's like Michael Cera's actually a good actor. But so it's a yes for me for Scott Pilgrim. But Matt, what do you say about Scott Pilgrim versus the world?
It's not on my list mostly just because I haven't seen it in a little bit, but I really like the movie. Like Stacey said, yeah, there's a lot of actors in this who became bigger stars. I mean, we're talking about another Culkin in a comic book movie now. And yeah, I like the comedy in the movie. I think my favorite scene is when Scott's girlfriend comes to the apartment and it's like he jumps through the window. It's like he just left. It's great. So yeah, I would have given it a yes.
Yeah. And actually, we talked about all three of the Culkins because, fun fact, in Richie Rich, one of the younger versions of Richie Rich was played by Rory Culkin, the younger.
Wow.
I didn't know that until I looked it up.
Interesting.
But with that, Stacey, we go back to you for your next nomination.
Okay. I'm looking at my list, trying to think if there's anything on here. I think everything everybody's seen. I probably should have checked some of the eligibilities with Malcolm and not just on lists online. But assuming it's eligible, my next pick is Men in Black, which
that counts.
Yeah, it's an imprint under Marvel. Like
yeah,
Marvel
it's an imprint.
acquired it. It's been through like 6 different
Gotta
comics.
change my list though. Give me 1 second here.
So, I mean, it's Men in Black. It's fun. It's a classic. Will Smith makes it look good. And it, the sequel's fun. The remake's not so great, even though it's got my boy Chris Hemsworth in it. But still, it's not good. But yeah, no, it's just so fun and funny. And the theme song is great. And it's like one of those ones you show your kids when they're, when they're a little bit older. And so that's my next pick.
But yeah, Men in Black is one of those ones that I actually rewatched this just before this, just because I could, and I was still traumatized after trying to find Flash Gordon. But yeah. So, but Men in Black is just one of those ones that, no matter how, like, if you've only seen it once or if you've seen it multiple times, like, you're always going to remember that you've seen it. It's like, and I know this joke happens a lot, but Will Smith really slaps in the role of. But yes, that joke's been done a lot too much.
Keep that joke out your mouth, Malcolm.
No. But yeah, so it's going to be an easy yes for me. Matt, what do you say about Men in Black?
I hate you. I want to say no, just based on the fact that you were still making that joke. Oh man, so I didn't have on my list because I thought it was based off a Marvel comic book, and so I was like, oh, it doesn't count. But whatever. Men in Black is in my top 50 favorite films of all time. Stacey said show it to your kids when you're a little bit older. I didn't because the way my parents worked is if it wasn't R-rated and they didn't really know what it was, I kind of just got to watch it. So when I was in like 3rd grade, I saw this movie. Probably shouldn't have. Went to school the next day, and my teacher called on me for an answer. I said, "Oh man, that was on Final Jeopardy last night." Yeah, I love this movie. It's so much fun. That weak ass story is all you're gonna come up with. You know what? You're gonna go into town. You're gonna go to Bloomingdale, get yourself some nice dresses, and then you're gonna get an interior digger up in here because, damn, it just be raining black people in New York. But it also has, and me and Pat Campbell talked about this several times. It has one of my favorite lines that is so true the older I get, which is a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, emotional, and you know it. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. This is one of my favorite roles of his. He just plays characters like this so well, just the straight-laced, like, stoic guy, but he also gets a lot of, like, funny moments. Like, again, when they're walking out the morgue, and he's like, make sure you neutralize her. And Jay just looks at him and was like, and make it a happy memory. Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times on a nice night when it's a clear sky, I look up at the stars and I say, stars are beautiful, aren't they? Yeah, it's a shame they brought Kay back for the sequel. They probably shouldn't have done that. But regardless, this movie's awesome and it gets a hell yes.
And Garth, what do you say about Men in Black?
Yeah, I was old enough to see this when it came out because I was 29. So, but,
Yeah, I saw it.
the publishers were Aircell Comics, and then it went to Malibu, and Marvel bought Malibu, so that's why it's
okay, makes
it's
sense.
not really a Marvel comic; they just bought the company, and it was at Aircell before that. So, but yeah, the comics actually are more akin to X-Files. It's not just aliens; it's like all supernatural stuff, Bigfoot and whatnot. Basically, it's the old thing of like when mysterious stuff happens, the Men in Black are always seen on the scene afterwards, and that's what it was based on. And the movie adaptation is a bit lighter and stuff, but it's really well done. And it's the buddy cop thing with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith works really well. The veteran and rookie thing, it's been done a zillion times in buddy cop movies. In fact, I relate this to 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, where it's the old grizzled veteran and the new rookie kid who's plays by its own rules and does things a different way. So yeah, this is a big thumbs up for me.
Yep. So Men in Black does make the list, and it's on to me. And so there's a few I want to bring up. I'm going to bring up one that I actually rewatched last week for a different show, but is it one that I've always loved this comic strip, and the movie that they did a few years ago was just amazing. And it's the Peanuts movie. And I mean, I've always loved like I've grown up with reading these Snoopy comics a lot, and all that. And I think the Peanuts movie that they did, it's done by the same people who did Ice Age, but they did this really faithful to the comics. Like, I didn't think that the animation style would work in 3D, but they managed to make it sort of pop in that. And it's just a really sweet story. It was pretty much two different stories. Like the comics, like you had the Snoopy story, which was him being a flying ace and all that. Then you had the Charlie Brown story of him trying to fall in love with this redhead girl, and all that. And it's just one of those ones that they really did play in your heartstrings, especially if you really loved the comics and all that. And Noah Schnapp, I think is from Stranger Things. I'm not too sure. Was great as Charlie Brown in this, and so yeah, I'm going to see how this goes. I don't know, but Matt, what do you say about the Peanuts movie?
So I love the Peanuts. I'm a 25-year-old man, and I still read it every day in the comics because they're great, they're fun, and who doesn't relate to Charlie Brown? Unfortunately, I've never gone around to seeing this movie. It's just one of those that it came out. When did it come out? 2017, I want to say.
2015.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah.
So I was just in college, so I think I was like. I was just like, maybe I shouldn't be going to the theaters by myself to see an animated movie. Yeah, and I've never gone around to, even though I want to, because I love the Peanuts. I love everything about them, but I can't say yes based off of that, unfortunately. But I will see this movie at some point.
Garth, what do you say about the Peanuts movie?
Well, yeah, I did grow up reading the comic strips, and in fact, every summer we'd spend at our family farm in West Virginia and my granny's house. The room I stayed in was filled with trades of Peanuts strips, and I read them every night before going to bed. and so I love the Peanuts and everything about them. This is actually the fifth theatrically released Peanuts movie. And for me, if I was going to go nominate a Peanuts movie, I would have picked A Boy Named Charlie Brown, the 1969 one. Um, but anyways, I'm going to actually say no to this one because I wasn't a fan of the new CGI look of things and the smooth polish. I prefer the like more hand drawn animated ones. Like I would have picked any of the other four.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But Stacey, what do you say about the Peanuts movie?
Well, shockingly, I have not seen it.
But if the Peanuts movie doesn't make this list, Matt, what was the next movie you're going to bring up?
The next movie that I'm going to bring up is The Mask of Zorro, 1998. This is one of the all-time great adventure movies. It is based off comics, the Zorro comics. So yeah, there are Zorro comics. There are,
but the history of Zorro is not from the comics. It's
Malcolm, your show, your call. If it doesn't count, I'll pick something else off my list.
I am looking up on what they say the movie is based on. If they say it's based on the comics, I will allow it. Yeah, no, it's just one of those ones like I know the history is one of those ones.
Yeah, it was pulp novels and radio shows.
Yeah.
And then movies. They did like early movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And
you
then
know what?
Comics came later. There are comics, you know.
Yeah, you know what? I'll allow it. We can let people yell at us in the chat in the comments later, but
okay.
Like Green Hornet technically isn't based on comics either.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Mask of Zorro, like I said, it's one of the best adventure movies I've ever seen. It's such a fun movie. Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Anthony Hopkins are wonderful in the movie. Great sword fights. And this was in the era right before CGI took over everything. So it's actually people riding horses and shooting, blank guns and actually having to sword fight. It's just a wonderful movie. It's one of those that I feel like anytime it's on TV, I always have to stop and watch it no matter where it is because it's one of those great fun movies. So yeah, Mask of Zorro.
Garth, what do you say about The Mask of Zorro?
Well, besides my initial thing of like I don't think it would count, but you say it can, so take that off the board. For me, I wasn't a fan of like we're gonna plop in Anthony Hopkins as the original Zorro with the British white guy, and then Catherine Zeta-Jones, the Welsh white woman. What it's like this thing, just because she's got this exotic look to, I was like, no, this should have been an all like Hispanic cast and stuff like that. And the changes to the character and stuff, I wasn't a fan of. So I'm gonna say no to this personally.
Stacey, what do you say about The Mask of Zorro?
I have seen it. It is fun. I don't remember it very well, but I have literally said no to all of Matt's picks, so I'm gonna say yes.
You're not the only one. It's fine.
I mean, it is a fun movie.
I'm looking at Manning.
It was good.
I know him.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I know I've seen this once. Unfortunately, I just remember nothing about it. And yeah, so I'm going to say no as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't make the list anyway. So you don't have to worry about people yelling at you that it's not based on comics, Matt.
Oh no! What am I gonna do with my time on the internet now? Shoot.
But Garth, what is your next nomination?
All right, so moving down the list. Where should I go next? All right, so okay, my next one I don't think this will go by you guys because I'm betting you guys haven't seen this, but I gotta shoot it out anyways. One of my favorite manga adaptations, written and directed by Katsuhiro Otomo, based on his manga. It's Akira from 1988. One of my favorite anime movies of all time, and it's been, like Peel said he wanted to make Akira, and he even threw in Nope. He threw in the little motorcycle scene from Akira and stuff, just because he loves it so much. And they've wanted to make live adaptations for years, but they always fell through, thankfully. The manga is huge, and it's these huge trades, and there's like 10 of them, and there's a lot more story to them. But the compacting it down into this movie, they did a really great job, and it's just beautiful to look at. I mean, if you don't want to watch the whole movie, just watch some clips online. It's a gorgeous movie, and so that's my recommendation.
Stacey, what do you say about Akira?
Well, I did hang out with a lot of skater kids in the early 90s that watched plenty of anime while I was in the room. I think I have seen it, but to tell you the truth, the only anime I remember from that time is Vampire Hunter D for some reason. So I'll have to say no.
But fun fact, just on a side note, Akira predicted the 2020 Olympics was going to be in Tokyo. Obviously, before it was delayed, they didn't predict coronavirus, but they predicted that. But yeah, this came up last week. I hadn't seen it then. I still haven't seen it. But it's one of those ones like I am intrigued from what I've heard about Akira, and eventually Taika Waititi might end up doing that live action adaptation that's kind of in the works.
Malcolm will see that one.
I will see that.
I mean, I'll probably see the animated one before it anyway. But you know what? I said no to it last week. I'm going to say yes to it this week. Matt, what do you say about Akira?
Unfortunately, I can count on like two fingers the amounts of animes I've seen in my life. And unfortunately, Akira is not one of them. So I have to say
that doesn't bode well for some of my list.
If Vampire Hunter D's not on there, I'm out too.
One of them probably doesn't even count. It's just a similar style to anime anyway.
But anyway, it's on Stacey. Are you going to bring up Vampire Hunter D?
No, I am not. That's not on my list. I will be very pleasantly surprised if two of you have seen my next pick. It is Ghost World, which is based on a graphic novel. We got Thora Birch, Scarlett Johansson, and Steve Buscemi just selling it hard. It's just a weird, interesting story where Thora Birch and Steve Buscemi have this kind of relationship that's not romantic, but it's not entirely just friends. And then Scarlett Johansson's her best friend who gets annoyed with the fact that she's spending all of her time with this weird guy that listens to jazz music, I think it is. And yeah, no, it's just a really good movie. It's just a good, interesting movie with some great performances and just not your typical comic book movie. And I like it.
I actually think I have seen this. Isn't that the one with Ricky Gervais in it?
Like Batgirl mask and stuff. And
With who in it?
Isn't Ricky Gervais in it or something?
No, that's a different ghost movie where he talks to ghosts, or he is a ghost that talks to people, or something very, very different.
Okay, then I haven't seen this.
No, that's where he sees ghosts and talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't actually have anything to do with ghosts.
No,
It's
this
just
this is not that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I may have seen this one as well at some stage. If I have, I don't remember it.
The easiest way to remember it is Thora Birch wears a Batgirl mask a lot. So
yeah.
It was one of Scarlett Johansson's bigger, breakout.
Yeah. but yeah, I don't remember. It does sound interesting. So I will probably give it. I actually will give it a slight yes, just because it is something that sounds interesting. I do really want to see it. Matt, what do you say about Ghost World?
I haven't seen it or even heard about it, but it's intriguing. I'm gonna say no just because I haven't seen it, but it's intriguing. I'll add it to the library rental list.
Big part of the reason that it's on my list is to get people to know it exists.
Yeah.
Well, then half of your mission is complete.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
also one of those ones where it's like, oh, that was based on a comic, and
Yeah.
But Garth, what do you say about Ghost World?
yeah, definitely, this is in my top 30. Big fan of the comics by Daniel Close, and Terry Zwigoff did a good job doing the adaptation of it, where it's kind of this dark and weird and moody, and friends. Story about friendship and how like you can find friendship in the oddest places. These young girls and this older guy, and it looks kind of from the outside it looks creepy and weird, and it's creepy and weird, but in a different way, in a nice way. And yeah, so I like Stacy. I highly recommend checking it out and read the comics if you like the movie too.
But if that Ghost World does actually make this list,
That is so shocking and very exciting for me.
yeah. But it falls on me, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for this one because there's a few that I'm looking at that I think definitely will come up. But the one that came up when I was doing some research for this that I didn't realize was based on a comic book that I thought for sure it was a novel, and that's 2007's Stardust. This is the one with Robert De Niro as a gay pirate. But it's one of those movies which I watch and no one really talks about a lot. And it's a shame because it's a really good movie. It's based on a Neil Gaiman. And you've got it is actually a pretty stacked cast because you got Claire Danes, you got Charlie Cox, Michelle Pfeiffer. Talking about Ricky Gervais, he's in this. Rupert Everett, Henry Cavill's in this, which I had no idea about until now.
The bully.
Yeah, so it's a stacked cast. It's just one of those movies which is a really good adventure story, and I would argue to say, even though I really hate using it underrated, I do think this is underrated. But Matt, what do you say about Stardust?
I know Stardust, the hotel and casino in Las Vegas, but not the film, so unfortunately, no. Sorry.
Garth, what do you say about Stardust?
I do like the Neil Gaiman story. It's interesting, but the movie didn't hit for me, unfortunately. It's not a bad movie, but it's not firing on all cylinders for me. So I gotta say no, unfortunately.
And Stacey, what do you say about Stardust?
I love Neil Gaiman. I want to just start there. I wish Sandman was eligible for this
Yeah, ditto.
show. Or the audio version is also fantastic of Sandman, but that's not the point. Yeah, I mean, my vote doesn't really matter at this point, so sure.
I'm surprised no one made a joke about the defunct app that people used to use.
That's right. That's the other Stardust I know. Yeah.
You can find Kristen Smith on that.
Yeah, maybe if you can still access the app. I don't know if you can.
But
anymore.
Matt, what's the next nomination you're going to bring up?
I have no lead-in jokes anymore. It's Kick-Ass from 2010. This is just a great, fun movie. I love the cast. Nick Cage as Big Daddy is awesome. Chloe Grace Moretz as Hit Girl is also great. It's an interesting movie, especially if you love comic books and everything, to sort of see what again, obviously more high reality, but what it might be like if you actually do try to become a superhero. Like, I like one of the first scenes is him just literally getting the shit just destroyed. Like that shot of him on the hospital bed. It's like, yeah, that's probably what would happen if you tried to actually do this in real life. Yeah, it's just a good one. So yeah, kick ass.
Garth, what do you say about Kick-Ass?
Yeah, I love the comics written by Mark Miller, and it's pronounced Miller even though it's got an A in it. And John Romita Jr. It's the Icon imprint on Marvel, but for some reason it gets published by Image because it's a separate creator-owned comic. It's Mark Miller owns all that. But yeah, it's a fun thing. It reminds me of there are these documentaries out there of real life vigilantes who dress up in costumes and try to stop crime and all that. And things don't go well for them a lot of the time. Either they just get ignored, or they're only allowed to do certain things. Like the police frown upon it. Obviously, vigilantism is illegal. So a lot of times they can't use major weaponry, like they're resorted to pepper spray and things like that. So it's these sad stories, and so I like that this is a take on that, where it's a realistic look at what could happen and when you try to become a hero and stuff, and then it goes into the fantastical stuff as well. And so I'm a big fan of the comics, and I like the movie adaptation. So I'll say yes.
Stacey, what do you say about Kick-Ass?
I will say yes to Kick-Ass. I love how much he gets his ass kicked. I just think it's so fitting that's because that's what would happen. And like Matt said, like that's what would happen. And I love that. And also it gave us Chloe Grace Moretz. I mean, I don't think it was her first role, but it was what really kind of thrust her into public knowledge.
Yeah.
And for that alone, yes.
Perhaps you should change your name to Ass Kicked.
Well, and there is a character named Ass Kicked.
Yeah, it's his buddy in the sequel.
Yeah. But yeah, this will be but this will be the second Matthew Vaughn movie that has made the list tonight, because he also directed Kingsman.
Right.
And correction, technically, Terry Duke gave us Chloe Grace Moretz.
Well, yeah, I said it probably wasn't her first, just the one that thrust her.
All right, technically her parents gave us Chloe Grace Moretz. There, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Matt. Good point.
I mean, that was my joke. That was my joke.
I knew her from Sunshine Elementary School. Thank you very much. I was a fan of that early. With her color drawings and stuff. Yeah.
Garf just made a list.
But anyway, yeah, this is like Kick-Ass is one of those ones. Like when this was announced, I actually did try to read the comics. I actually wasn't a big fan of the comics, but I really love this movie. And I think Nicolas Cage's Big Daddy is probably the closest he's going to get to being a live action superhero.
And he does Adam West all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, his delivery in the movie is fantastic.
Yeah. I really wish James Gunn cast Nicolas Cage and just de-ages him as Superman in this new Superman movie that he's doing.
But he played him in the Teen Titans movie, so he got to play Superman eventually.
But that Kick-Ass does make this list, and we go back to Garth.
Okay, dokie. Let's see. So after Akira, we have another one that I'm going to say, and I'm betting that none of you have seen it, but we'll see. This is another anime based on manga. It's based on the Lupin the Third comics, which was based on the books and stuff, and there's a live action Netflix series and stuff. based on the character. But anyways, this is written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, who you know best from Studio Ghibli movies. This is actually a Toho movie, not Studio Ghibli, but it's, you know, if you've seen any of the Ghibli movies, you know his work. And it's the very first movie he directed, and it's based on the manga by Monkey Punch is the guy's name, and it's a wonderful, fun story. There's the Lupin the Third anime series, and this was the major theatrical movie. Basically, he's a rogue thief type guy and has a samurai friend and a gangster friend and lots of women and stuff like that. And it's a fun adventure. And I just wanted to bring it up, but I'm pretty sure none of you have seen it. So,
Stacey, what do you say about Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro?
I say yes. Garth is correct that I have not seen it.
And yeah, when it comes to anime, like I'm one of those ones that's very hit and miss when it comes to anime. But when it comes to anime that not a lot of people may have seen, for some reason they've turned up on New Zealand streaming services. So chances that I may have, and this one is one I actually have seen. And yeah, it's a really interesting story, and I really love it. So I actually would say yes to it. Matt, what do you say?
I have not seen it. Just assume if you bring up an anime, I haven't seen it. I hate to fit a stereotype, but you know, stereotypes are sometimes right.
I don't know. I was hoping it was going to be one of the two you had seen. But Stacey, what is your next nomination?
I'm gonna do one more kind of out of the box pick that I'll be shocked if goes through. But we're getting down to the final four, and my other ones are all pretty main big movies people know about. So the movie is called A History of Violence. It is Viggo Mortensen off of his Lord of the Rings fame as a family man who runs a diner, and some guys come in and he shows that he's got some skills people didn't know about, which brings some other people from his past to the small town. And it's an interesting little suspense thriller drama, I guess. For a lot of the movie, you don't know if he is or isn't who these people think he is, because of course he's denying it. And it's just a gritty little look at family life and an ex-gangster.
History of Violence is actually a really good movie. It's definitely one of those that it's directed by David Cronenberg, if I'm correct. And who's known for the really out of the box horror movies, which are very weird. And but yeah, this was a relatively normal movie for him. And it's just and Viggo Mortensen is great in it.
Maria Bella too. I didn't mention her, but she's really good too.
Yeah, and also it's got Ed Harrison here as well.
One more mention, and Paul will just appear on the screen.
Well, let's try it out. Ed Harris.
He might be working tonight.
But yeah, so I'm going to say yes to History of Violence. But Matt, what do you say about History of Violence?
I have heard of this film, but unfortunately, it's one of those that I've just never gone around to seeing. But it's on my list of rentals. Unfortunately, I did not rent it before this. Sorry. Also, you brought up Lord of the Rings just to try to sway Malcolm's vote, and I like your faith in there, Stacey.
With my background, it's not to sway Malcolm's vote at all. It's
I saw an opportunity for a joke. And I took
but what do you say about A History of Violence?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the comics written by John Wagner and illustrated by Vince Locke. And originally Paradox Press, then it was published by Vertigo Comics, which is an imprint of DC. but it's a very unique thing where it's like it's basically a straightforward gangster movie, even though it's based on comics, and then you bring in David Cronenberg, the body horror guy, to direct it. It's like this weird mix where you would never think this is based on comics, and you would never think David Cronenberg directed it. And it works great, and it's a very well done movie, and everyone in it's great. And yeah, definite thumbs up for me.
And with that, History of Violence does make this list, and it goes on to me. Still trying to decide if I want to go for one of the obvious ones that, if we don't bring it up now, could end up missing, or if I try and go for.
Malcolm, if you try to pick an obscure one, it's very possible some people haven't seen it.
Oh,
Some people,
I've seen all of them.
I was about to say, Garvin's seen everything.
I've seen all of them. I've seen all 200 of them. So.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about obscure. I'm bringing the one I'm going to bring up is a movie that's probably a little bit of a mystery, and it's about men. But mystery men is, yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's like it's called Mystery Men, but yet there's a female in this group. So I mean, it's just one of those.
Kind of like X-Men. Just unfortunately, Mystery People doesn't sound as good, I guess.
Yeah, well, funny enough, like even if the X-Men squad is all females, they still call it X-Men.
Yeah, it's weird.
But anyway, Mystery Men is one of those ones. I think is it based on it's Flaming Carrot comics or something like that?
Yeah, they're characters from the Flaming Carrot comics by Bob Burden.
Yeah, this is one that I went in to this purely because I heard Cal Mitchell was in this. I love Kenan Cal. I want to see a movie of him in it. So I went to, and I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. And it's once again, it's another one that like it has a pretty set cast as well. Like you got Hank Azaria, you got Ben Stiller in there, Jeffrey Rush, and
William H. Macy.
I think Dex Shepard makes an appearance at one stage too.
Well, and especially like during the tryouts, you get all sorts of people like.
And Christian Harloff shows up.
And no, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, and it's just a lot of fun and just very funny. And so I'm going to see how this goes. Matt, what do you say about Mystery Men?
Mystery Men was going to be the next one I brought up. So yeah, of course, I love Mystery Men. This movie is so much fun. It's the one that gave us the song everyone thinks is from Shrek. It's actually from this movie. I love this movie to pieces. Me and Malcolm have talked about it before. I think with Jordan we talked about it. But it's such a fun movie. The cast and you know, I like how they're like not even the C-list team in this city of superheroes. They're barely anything on anyone's radar. And it's just super. It's such a fun movie, and it's also a nice story about just like kind of believing in yourself as a team, and they end up being the heroes at the end of the day to defeat Casanova Frankenstein, which is just a great name for a villain. And who plays the like main superhero in the town? I feel like what's his name?
Greg Kinnear.
Greg Kinnear. Yeah, Greg Kinnear is such a great like. I love how he's just like, I'm so bored. I've beaten all the villains. Let's just let one of them out of prison so that I can beat them again. Like, I just like that idea. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mr. Men gets a yes for me.
But Garth, what do you say about All Star?
Yeah, and what's fun is like all the cameos, like the leader of the frat boys is Michael Bay.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, like there's like so many cameos in this movie. But yeah, this is characters from the Flaming Carrot comics by Bob Burden, which are really fun. I've dressed as the Flaming Carrot before, which is like this giant carrot with flames, and he wears what do you call it? The that you swim with, the flippers,
Oh,
and stuff like that. So a very unique character, and I'd love to see him in live action someday, but it wouldn't have fit in this movie because this is, even though it's super powered, it's still like human people. And this went through a bunch of publishers: Aardvark, Vanaheim, Renegade Press, Dark Horse, and then Image. So it's been through a bunch, but or at least the Flaming Carrot comics. But yeah, it's a really well done movie. And William H. Macy, love his character, and Ben Stiller, of course, trying to be furious. And Janine Garofalo is the bowler's daughter, taking over, talking to her dad, the bowling ball, and I can only turn invisible if you don't look at me.
And then I love that it's true, because the whole movie you're like, is it real? And then at the end, it actually is true.
Yeah. So yeah, this was number 13 on my list. So yeah, definitely.
Stacey, what do you say about Mystery Men?
It's fun. I haven't seen it a whole lot. The only one I really remember, I think it's Hank Azaria plays the silverware guy.
Yeah.
So there's a silverware guy, right? Like that, for some reason, I always remember the silverware guy, and I remember the scenes, which were really fun. My list is dark for the most part. Other than Men in Black, it's not a very fun list. It's kind of a dark list. I was a teenager in the 90s. What do you want from me? So, but yeah, Mystery Men is great. It doesn't matter what I said, but I probably would have said yes. Probably.
But that Mystery Men does make the list. And if they ever do make a movie about Flaming Carrot, I want them to get Nicolas Cage to play him.
He played Ghost Rider. He's played Flaming Carrot
exactly.
before. It works. Someone go Photoshop a carrot over Ghost Rider footage. No, do it. Get on it, someone.
But Matt, what is your next nomination?
My next nomination, which I'm surprised hasn't come out yet, but it's Sin City. This is just a great noir comic book film. Frank Miller directed, except for, Robert Rodriguez. I'm sorry, no. Where is it, Frank Miller? I know Quentin Tarantino did one scene about that because I was watching Reservoir Dogs today.
No, there's 3 directors of Sin City.
Yeah. It's such a great movie. I love the ensemble cast. I like the fact that it's separate stories, but it still works as a great movie. Bruce Willis at the end of this, I love his whole story of being this sort of down on his luck cop and the man in gold that he has to fight to save Jessica Alba. It's a great, wonderful movie. So yes, Sin City. It's my next nomination.
You mean the Yellow Bastard?
Yellow Bastard, yeah.
But Garth, what do you say about
Gold?
Sin City?
Kind of different.
Well, he's yellow because he's dying of like syphilis and stuff. But
it's John Connor from Terminator 3. There.
Sin City is definitely one of the iconic, and it's one of those ones where they did a good adaptation of Frank Miller's art and kept it mostly black and white, except for the Yellow Bastard and some stuff. And I really like how it was handled and the cast and stuff. Mickey Rourke, great casting choice. So yeah, I'll say yes to this.
Stacey, I know you said your list was dark. Does Sin City?
Yeah, Sin City's on it.
It ain't a bright movie.
Because it's dark. No, I love the look of the movie. I love the characters. I love Clive Owen. I especially love a crazy prostitute cannibal, Elijah Wood. Prostitute killing. He's not a prostitute.
I was gonna say.
Also, I thought Malcolm was going to bring up Elijah Wood.
No, I love Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
So, Sin City's great, and it's a must. There's a lot of big ones that haven't been brought up yet. Now, and we only have one spot left, I think. But Sin City definitely belongs on the list.
Yeah, and apparently they're developing a soft reboot for TV. But
because the sequel
Well-
worked out so well. It didn't.
Well, I mean, like if they do TV, like each episode can be a different book, and so I mean, I think
I guess.
yeah. But anyway, I really do love Sin City. Like this is one of the ones I was referring to when I said, do I want to bring up one that I'm surprised hasn't come up yet, or do I want to bring up one that I think could make it on? But yeah, but Sin City is great, and yeah, it's easily a yes for me. And with that, we've got one spot left, and we go to Garth.
Yeah, here's where it gets difficult because I brought up ones that maybe I shouldn't have brought up because I pretty much knew you guys hadn't seen and that did get no, like Akira and Castle of Cagliostro. Maybe I shouldn't have even brought them up.
But you gave it a platform, and now people may go out and watch the movies.
Yeah,
That's gotta be
no,
worth
you know what I
something.
mean though is like maybe I should have saved them for the ones I picked. I've only got Rocketeer and Scott Pilgrim versus the World made it. So my odds aren't good. So
Your odds are as good as mine.
yeah, I'm just wondering if I should go further down the list, but no, hell with it. The next one on my list, I'll stick to it. Stick to my list is going to be another dark movie. This one is The Crow from 1994, based on comics by James O'Barr, directed by Alex Proyas. And this is another one that went through like 4 different publishers. The last movie for the late great Brandon Lee, and a movie almost didn't come out because he died while making it. But they used some tricks and magic and doubles and CGI and stuff like that to finish the movie. And I'm glad they did. I'm glad they didn't just scrap it. It was one of those things where they talked to the Lee family. Do you want us to scrap the movie or do you want us to finish it? And they said finish it. And I'm glad they did. And not only is it a great movie, but the soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks. Every song is great in it, and especially the Dead Souls cover song by Nine Inch Nails. That's my ringtone on my phone. I just love it so much. So that's my recommendation.
But Stacey, what do you say about The Crow?
That is on my list. I say yes to The Crow. There's some on my list that maybe I would have said first, but I mean, The Crow's a classic, and I would be sad if it wasn't on the list. And this is our last spot, so absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen The Crow. This is one that I have been wanting to see. It's just one of those ones that I've also like. Do I really want to see it based on what I know about the production of it as well? It's like it's one of those two things for me. I'm going to say no just because there's a few other ones I want to bring up and hope to get on here. But Matt, what do you say about The Crow?
I was really hoping Malcolm would have said yes to make this a lot easier. I have never seen The Crow. I've heard a lot about it, but I have unfortunately never seen it. It's unfortunate that I've never seen the movie, but I know so much about the story, including Steven Seagal's version, where he claims they called him after it happened. It's a weird interview, but it's Steven Seagal, so don't believe it, kids. He also says he's a master of a dead martial art, so... He claims Warner Brothers called him right after it happened, and he was like, "I'm telling you, there was a bullet in the gun," and it's like, what? It's a weird. I mean, watch the interview because it's funny. Because Steven Seagal like trying to be relevant, but yeah, don't do it, kids. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen the movie.
But unfortunately, The Crow doesn't make this list. Stacey, we go back to you.
Okay. This is really hard now. So I'm gonna do one that I think probably won't get through and let you guys do the bigger ones because I've already got 4 on the list. And I'm gonna go with Chronicle, which I just really like the whole idea of what would you do if you were a teenager and got these superpowers. I haven't seen it in quite a while, so I can't like talk a lot about the details of the movie except for, obviously one of the friends abuses his powers, to say the least. But I really liked it. I've seen it. I did watch it multiple times over the years, and I just think it's a really interesting idea, and I think it was really well done.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I don't think this is based on a comic book.
It is not based. It's a rip-off of Akira. So in that way, it's based
It
on.
was on some lists I looked at, so I apologize for trusting you.
It's right. Well, I'll give you, and you can say something else.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
No, it's actually the reason it might be on those lists is it's a rip-off of Akira.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's based
All right.
loosely
All
on
right.
Akira.
Then,
Orbis lists don't know what they're talking about. They put RoboCop.
But we can put
in
Akira
one of
back
these
on the
lists.
list. You can.
sorry. I'm not surprised that happened, though, because I did not really look into them that much to see if they were eligible. Well, then I'll go with one that I am like really sure is pretty eligible and that I just watched today because I haven't seen in a while, and that is V for Vendetta, which, I mean, again, it's political. It's unfortunately always fitting. Natalie Portman's great, and it's just a good movie. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say at this point because I'm kind of tired. and I just assume everybody's seen it. So. But okay, well, if you haven't seen it, you should. I was wondering quite a bit when I was watching it because he keeps that mask on the whole time that she's staying at his house. And I'm like, there's no mouth hole. How does he eat? Does he let her go because he's really hungry in the end? Like, I don't know. That part was kind of weird to me that he like left the mask on the whole time he was keeping her there. But other than that, it's fantastic.
Well, she fell asleep sometimes.
He just ate when she wasn't around.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, V for Vendetta is a biopic about John Roker.
You stole my joke, Malcolm. Damn it.
I'm almost convinced John Roker keeps that mask on all the time. But yeah, I'm in a tough position. So I really want to say no just because there's other ones I want to get on. But this is really high up my list as well. So I honestly can't do that. I love V for Vendetta. The Wachowskis did a really good job with this, and it's just one of those movies that is really good. And yeah, Matt, what do you say about V for Vendetta? Is it yes?
Yeah, I have seen it. It's a good one. Malcolm stole my John Roker joke, so thanks for that. Yeah, it's a good movie. It has some nicely shot action scenes, but it's mostly the story. Yeah, unfortunately, it is always going to be kind of relevant, unless just the barriers of government just get broken down and we just become monkeys fleeing crap at each other, in which case then it's not anything. But it's a great movie. It's wonderfully shot in the domino scene at the end. You know, it's a great visual image of everything. And yeah, John Roca has kept this movie relevant for me for all those years in the Schmodown. Because every time I played a match, I was reminded of V for Vendetta. Which, as Matt Noah said on a recent Top 10 show, I think he made that mask more famous than Hugo Weaving.
Yeah. But Gareth, what do you say about V for Vendetta?
I would argue that the vigilante hacker group Anonymous makes the mask more famous. But anyways, this was number 10 on my list. I can't recommend enough. If you've only seen the movie, please read the comics, The Collected Trade, by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. It's gorgeous art, and there's so much hidden in the art. You read it over and over again, and you spot new things. You learn more background about the characters than you ever could in a movie. And it's just, as is usually the case with any movie based on a book or other property, it's the original source material is better. So I highly recommend reading the trade. And yeah, definite big yes.
But with that does bring us to the end of ranking for tonight. We've still got to rank the 12, but we're going to do some honorable mentions. I'm going to start off with myself. Actually, Stacey, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Mine are pretty standard, probably. I got a bit Unbreakable, Red, Hellboy, and Chronicle, which of course was not eligible. And I had Underworld written down, but that's not eligible either. They made comics based on the movie after the fact, not the other way around. So I did figure that out before I said it.
Yeah. And I will say, Matt did ask me about Unbreakable earlier. That isn't based on a comic either.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
What?
It's not.
Oh,
It's
No, that's an M. Night original.
why did I think it was? It seems like
They,
it.
It's so freaking
there's
good.
Alex Ross art. He's a comics artist, but that's about it.
Okay.
But with me, some honorable mentions that I had, like, I'm pretty sure it would have been no, but as I said, I think the animated TMNT from 2007 is the better Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie I've seen.
I do like that movie.
Well, I mean, I don't know where Stacey and Garth would have gone if I brought it up, but
I love Chris Evans, but no.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I one anime that I watched last week for anime movies of the 80s, Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. I really love, and but once again, just the way the anime have been going, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and there's a live action Slumberland with Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah. I honestly didn't realize that was based on the same thing. I was like,
Yeah.
And the other one is that I was almost going to bring up Fever and Vendetta for some reason, didn't make it on. The Adventures of Tintin, I think, is good, a really good adaptation. And the last one I will talk about is one that I don't think anyone really knew, because I didn't know, but the DreamWorks animated movie The Bad Guys that came out last year is based on a Australian comic book. Which I totally did not know. But Matt, any honorable mentions for you?
Yeah, just a few that I had. Again, as you guys heard, my multiple no's. My list was kind of small, so I had the Stallone Judge Dredd movie because Stallone. So obviously, I've seen that one. Haven't seen the other one, so that's why I had to go with the Stallone one.
I had that one, so we're covered. We got both.
Even than that, I had Time Cop because who doesn't love Van Damme? And then the last one that I didn't bring up because I just assumed it would get a bunch of no's, but I love this movie and I don't care. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I love the movie. I know a lot of people hate
it's
it.
Fun. I mean, I think it's fun. I don't know if
I have a
12, but I think it's funner than it gets credit for.
I love Sean Connery. You know, he's great.
R.I.P.D. also. I think it's funner than it gets credit for.
Yeah, it's great. And that's it. That's all I got. Those are literally the last three I had on my list. So I was just going to have to start bringing up random movies.
I know you've got a list of about 200, but try and limit to about 5 or 10.
Yep. Yeah, okay. So I'll just go with my top ones. So Ghost in the Shell, the animated version, not the live action with Scarlett Johansson. The Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, the second movie directed by Hayao Miyazaki, based on the manga, and Persepolis is a beautiful animated movie based on Marjane Satrapi's autobiographical comics about growing up in Iran during the Iranian Revolution. American Splendor, starring it's about Harvey Pekar, and it stars Paul Giamatti as Harvey Pekar, and it's a great look at the making of comics and behind the scenes and stuff like that. As Malcolm mentioned, The Bad Guys by Aaron Blabby Comics. The Hellboys. Road to Perdition is another one that isn't thought of as a comic movie, but it's a great comics movie. Oblivion with Tom Cruise was an unpublished graphic novel by Joseph Kaczynski, who directed Top Gun Maverick and Tron Legacy and stuff. Um, and then I'll just go with Heavy Metal, the animated movie from 1981 based on those comics, and Atomic Blonde, based on the Golden City. So I'll stop there.
But with that, we're going to vote and on what we want at number 12. Just to recap what we've got on this list, we've got Dick Tracy, The Rocketeer, Snowpiercer, Kingsman, Secret Service, Scott Pilgrim, Men in Black, Ghost World, Kick-Ass, The History of Violence, Mystery Men, Sin City, and V for Vendetta. For number 12, I'm going to clear the way for PJ Campbell, but I put The Rocketeer. Matt, what do you have?
Okay. To preference this is just my least favorite out of the ones I've seen that I can vote on, which is Scott Pilgrim.
Garth, what do you have?
All right. I'm going with Dick Tracy for 12.
And Stacey, what do you have for number 12?
Mystery Men. What happens if they're all different?
So we've got a 4-way tie. We are going to go to the chat. So, chat.
Brian Sky High does not count, unfortunately.
Yeah. So,
but pick
Brian,
out of these four.
For number 12, Rocketeer, Mystery Men, Dick Tracy, or Scott Pilgrim. Which one do you think is 12? I'll give you a little bit of time. I'll set up a reel just in case.
The wheel. I'm watching the chat, so I'll see.
I almost went The Rocketeer, too.
Right.
That's too high up on my list.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones.
And I only have 2 on this list, so there's no way I'm going to put them on the bottom.
Scott Pilgrim. Joshua says Scott Pilgrim.
Oh.
I have to change my board.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not realize JD's first name was actually Joshua until today.
All right, so I've only got 2 on this list, and one's number 12. Oh, my.
I've actually seen all the movies on this list. I don't think that's ever happened before. One of these.
Matt, what do you have for 11?
Well, I have to change my board. Some Mystery Men.
Garth, what do you have for 11?
Sigmund Dick.
I tried not to laugh, but it's funny.
I went back to The Rocketeer.
I didn't change the board. The Rocketeer is going to be 11.
All right, so my only 2 are the bottom 2. All right.
Sorry.
Let's see how it is.
Hey, my number 1 pick, you're trying to get really low on this list, Garf, so come on. You try to tell me that you're an officer of the law? I am the law. You don't think. 30 seconds, no more dick. 30 seconds.
I do recommend watching the Dread one.
Yeah, with Carl Urban.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get around to it. I got a lot of life to live. A lot of movies to watch.
Garth, what do you have for number 10?
Stick it with Dick.
Keep saying no. I want to say how much more Garf adds.
I have Mystery Men.
This might shock some people, but I put Snowpiercer. Matt.
Mystery Men.
That Mystery Men is going to be 10. And one of these days, I'll remember to actually catch up and make the list for the last however many episodes I haven't made lists for on Letterboxd yet. And I don't know why I erased my board. But Stacey, what do you have for number 9?
Dick Tracy.
I'm sticking with Snowpiercer. Matt.
Okay, once again, There's only a few I've seen, and this one out of all that, it's Sin City, just because I like the other ones more that I've seen.
And Garth,
Well, I was just trying his TV watch. Dick Tracy.
that means Dick Tracy is going to be 9.
Top 10.
But starting with me again, I'm sticking with Snowpiercer. Matt,
Sin City.
Garth,
I love Chris Evans.
and Stacey.
Kick ass.
Snowpiercer is going to be 8.
Now it gets tough.
But Stacey, what do you have for 7?
Kick ass again.
I went a history of violence with a book about the history of violence. Matt,
I decided to be different. I changed my board to V for Vendetta, just to be different.
Garth.
I want Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Nah,
So if they've got another 4-way tie, we've got history of violence, Kingsman,
Kick Ass and V for Vendetta.
Kick Ass, and V
My
for
guess
Vendetta.
is History of Violence goes because probably they haven't seen it.
I don't know.
I don't
Have to
know.
see if anyone's even watching still.
Right?
I mean, Brian's watching, surely. But once again,
I am serious, Malcolm, and don't call me Shirley. Oh. V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta.
Yep.
I knew either Brian or JD was watching.
Regardless, Malcolm always has the wheel, which can sometimes be in your favor and sometimes be against it.
How wheels are.
It's mostly against
Yeah.
me, but you know, it's fine.
Hey, I mean, if I don't have to use it, then it saves.
It allows Malcolm to put blame on someone else in the chat.
Well, no, but
It's.
I mean, honestly, like looking at the
wheeling a
I mean,
long time
look-
though.
looking at the list, there probably will be places about what didn't make it, but I don't think there's any movies on here that people go it shouldn't be here either.
Yeah, I think this was a
But-
solid list.
But Matt, what do you have for 6?
I've had to change it back now to Sin City.
Garth.
Yeah, it's not like we put Garfield on here. Kingsman: The Secret Service.
We probably should have.
Still have kick ass.
I've got history of violence.
All
So I'll go to the chat.
right,
History
I'm
of
going to
violence.
change mine.
Kick ass. Kingsman.
So was it Sin City, Kingsman, Kick Ass, and History of Violence?
History of violence, yes. The real is
Sin
ready.
City.
Yeah, I was about to say the real was ready, but as soon as I looked up,
JD and me, I guess, are just on a similar wavelength. Although I have to keep changing my board, though.
I just keep changing mine because I'm indecisive anyway. So
interesting fact on my personal list, I've got Sin City at 7 and V for Vendetta at 6. It's completely swapped around on here.
Interesting.
But Garth, what do you have for 5?
Sticking with Kingsman.
Stacey,
I have Kingsman too.
Kingsman 2 didn't make the list.
Oh, Kingsman also.
I know what you mean. I put a 50 match,
I have Kick-Ass.
but it's going to be Kingsman.
All right, top 4.
So, what do we have left? Men in Black, Ghost World, Kick-Ass, History of Violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's it? Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stacey, what do you have for 4?
I have Kick-Ass.
I'm sticking with History of Violence. Matt,
Kick-Ass.
Garth,
I'm going with Ghost World.
but it is going to be Kick-Ass.
I'm very surprised Ghost World's the top 3. That's great.
I'm surprised that and History of Violence are still there. I'm surprised they both made it on the list.
But with that, we've got Ghost World, Men in Black, and A History of Violence. And I decided to change up things a little bit.
Malcolm, what is with us tonight? We changed our boards.
Oh, I mean,
forced-
it's one of those ones like I was thinking like the top 3. I want it to be between 2 movies I've seen, which means I am voting Ghost World at this point. Matt,
I've only seen one movie left, so I've had to start voting for things that I haven't seen. So just Ghost World. I just eating money
Yeah.
out it.
Yeah.
Vote for those ones first that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't feel that's fair to vote against them if I haven't seen them.
I mean, it's one of those ones like when it comes to voting, like unless the other 10 or 11 I really have really like more, I try not to vote for things I haven't seen until it gets to a point where it's like,
Yeah, like now, like it's
Yeah.
or else voting for number 1. It's literally going to be me and my vote.
And now we put our number 1.
yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I was actually about to add, if you haven't changed your board, you might want to do that now. Because that's how you end up with Garfield at number 1. Not that I'm saying it's ever happened before, but
I don't know. I still feel happy about Daredevil at number 3. I'll never forget that.
I mean that
was a
was
great
when I
moment.
had the whole save rule. So
That was a great moment in
but,
Rankin history.
Matt, what do you have for number 1?
I have Men in Black, and not just
Yeah.
because it's the only one of the 2 that I've seen. It's because it's good.
And I'm
Yeah.
going with A History of Violence.
Stacey.
I have Men in Black.
Well, I've been trying to vote down History of Violence. iPad, so I've got Men in Black. Which means that number 1 will be Men in Black. Number 2 is History of Violence. Once I make the banners.
I'm pleasantly surprised. Not only did Ghost World make the list as number 3,
I mean, there was a few times I thought about doing it earlier, but like then I completely forgot about it. But with that, our top 12 movies based on comics that are not primarily Marvel or DC superheroes. At 12, we've got Scott Pilgrim versus the World. At 11, we've got The Rocketeer. At 10, we've got Mystery Men. At 9, we got Dick Tracy. At 8, we got Snowpiercer. At 7, we got V for Vendetta. At 6, we got Sin City. At 5, we got Kingsman: The Secret Service. At 4, we got Kick-Ass. At 3, we got Ghost World. At 2, we got A History of Violence. And number 1 is Men in Black. But with that, that brings us to the end of another episode of Rankum. Next week, we're going to be switching up the rudder and taking a different tact from a different topic, because I had the poll up yesterday, and I had the poll up yesterday, and the winner of that poll is Cool Rud Movies. So that'll be next week's topic. But Matt, where can people find you online?
You guys, as always, can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, MattMovies611 on YouTube, and right here as the host of Second Look, on hiatus right now, but we'll come back at some point, as well as host of the, also on hiatus, but we'll come back, the Fandom Podcast. You can also find me as the co-host of Simple Tricks and Nonsense with Abe Flores, as me and Abe are just going to randomly go live on the channel with episodes and probably won't have any topics. And this week, I believe on Wednesday, you can find me and Manning Franks as we have the final episode in our James Bond retrospective as we rank all 25 Bond movies. Should be a lot of fun. We're probably going to get a lot of hate. Well, I'll get a lot of hate. Manning will probably be fine. But that should be fun. So check that out. And I'm also going to be judging Malcolm's favorite movies this week, but I'll let him plug that.
But Garth, where can people find you online?
Well, first of all, I want to plug Matt's James Bond show. I'm a huge James Bond fan, read the novels. A relative of mine happened to know him in Jamaica, and Ian Fleming and stuff. So I got into him early, and it's a great show these guys do. So check it out. And for me, it's Garth McMurray on just Twitter and Facebook, and Garth_McMurray on Instagram, where you can see a bunch of my comics art. I'm a comics artist. And other than that, I appear on shows now and then, do a lot of movie trivia in various leagues, and you can spot me in the chat almost everywhere and in the Discord almost everywhere. So I'll see you around.
Stacey, where can we find you online?
I'm pretty much Stacy LM78 on everything, I think, except for Facebook, but you don't need to find me there. I don't post there really anyway. But Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter, I think, are all Stacy LM78. And I occasionally judge on Movie Battleground, and I occasionally show up in a slightly bitchier form on the Dill Pickle Network's MCU Trivia, as well as Draft Day. And actually next Saturday night at midnight, I will be very overtired and very silly and co-hosting some Harry Potter trivia, hopefully, over on the Dill Pickle Network. So that's it.
Yeah, and you can also find me over on the Dill Pickle Movie Network as well, competing in the MCU League. I believe my next match will be taking on Stacey. And you can find me this Tuesday over on the Movie Hero Network, where I'm doing part 1 of the tournament of my top 128 favorite movies. And spoiler alert, movie 43 is not there. But you can also find me hosting Rankum every Sunday. You can also find me every Sunday hosting Gone for the Win. If you haven't voted for the Gone for the Win awards, the vote nominations are still open. Just nominate the movie you think should have been nominated for the Oscars, and then at the end of February we will be announcing what is nominated for the Gone for the Win awards this year. But you can also find me sort of everywhere where I host trivia over on Full Metal. Coming up this week on Full Metal, we've got a Fast and the Furious match happening, and that is on Saturday the 18th.
It's all about family, that match.
And that is the only one that's kind of confirmed to happen this week. There may be a Spider-Man one, but probably not this week anyway, but it'll be next week. But with that being said, that is the end of Rankum for tonight. And yeah, until next time, keep listening shit. And just
thanks
remember,
to you, that's over now, and you've ruined that for